Oh, where are the horses? Okay. Good morning. All right. Okay. You all are going to have to sing and speak louder today since there are fewer today, I see. Welcome to First Unitarian Church of Des Moines. We're a community bound not by creed, but by covenant. I'm Barb Martin, my pronouns she, her, hers, and a member of the celebrant team. Our church is located on lands that are traditionally territory of the indigenous Iowa and Fox and Sac. Okay, I'm glad you know. And as we enter this space, let us recommit to understanding the history of the land that it occupies and to owning our part in the work of education, reparation, and healing. Our speaker today is Kathryn Sutton. I'm sure she's not a stranger to most of you. She, her, hers. She joined First Unitarian in 2015, where she has formed and strengthened strong friendships, spiritual growth, and leadership. And over the course of her 8 years, she's been a facilitator for coming of age for 5 groups and led the young adult group for 3 years and has participated in several small groups. Now joining the Board of Trustees this year, Kathryn is excited about the future of First Unitarian as a beacon of hope and healing in the community. Professionally, Kathryn is a digital designer, creating websites for mission-driven nonprofit across the country. So I will ask that if you have children, you can keep them with you, or they may attend the petite place in the back where we all already have some attendees back there. Okay. Please silence your phones, mute your computers, and I think we are ready to go. I want you to know that after the service, 11 o'clock in Griffin Hall, there will be a chance for you to meet with the speaker today and to discuss issues that have been presented here this morning. Our chalice lighting this morning is May This Flame by Betts Wieneke. May this flame, symbol of transformation since time began, fire our curiosity, strengthen our wills, and sustain our courage as we seek what is good within and around us. Now, I hope you have your hymnals because we're having a little technical difficulty here. So if you don't, you might want to scoot over with a friend. I don't think the words will be up there. They'll be in your hymnal. And our first song is number 66, When the Summer Sun is Shining. When the summer sun is shining over golden land and sea, and the flowers in the hedgerow welcome butterfly and bee, then my open heart is glowing, full of warmth for everyone, and I feel the summer clouds of thunder bring the long-awaited rain, and the thirsty soul is moistened, and the grass is green again. Then I long for summer sunshine, but I know that clouds and tears are a part of life's refreshment, like the rainbow's hopes and fears. In the cool of summer evening, when the dancing insects play, and in garden, street, and meadow linger echoes of the day, then my heart is full of yearning, hopes and memories flood the whole of my being, reaching inwards to the corners of my soul.
Good morning. My name's Laura Berardi. I'm a member of your pastoral care team. I use she, her pronouns. Now, I'd like to invite you into a spirit of meditation, thought, or prayer. Take a moment to get comfortable where you are seated. Feel your feet on the floor. Relax your hands in your lap. And take a few deep breaths with me. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Our guided meditation are words by Nancy Reed McKee. Sit and rest for a minute. Take several deep breaths in and out again, calling your attention to this space. Attention. Pay attention. Pay attention to where you are right now. I mean, where you are, and where you are. You are here in this community, in this sanctuary, in this state, in this country, on this beautiful blue planet whirling through the tailspin of a galaxy. You are unique. You are made of cells and hormones. You are a mix of thoughts, emotions, values. You are the inheritors of your parents and ancestors' dreaming. You are part of the human inhabitants on this earth. You are. You exist. You are breathing. You are still. You are connected. You are present. You have a holy spark inside you. You are here now. You are paying attention. Blessed be. We will now hold silence together for a minute. A church is not a building, but a community. As a community of human hands and human hearts, we come together to share our laughter and our tears, and to bear witness and minister to one another as we struggle with life's sorrows and celebrate life's joys. May we hold in our thoughts and prayers this week the following members and friends of this congregation. From Karen Lauer, please keep Michael Lauer and his family in your thoughts this week. His doctors are working to stabilize his condition while waiting for chemotherapy to take effect against his multiple myeloma. Michael is at Methodist Hospital downtown. No phone calls or visits, please, but cards are welcome at the home address. And from Bob and Carol Henderson, two longtime, very active members that now live in Silver Springs, Maryland. Bob will be returning home from a 2-week stay at Johns Hopkins Medical Center to have hospice care in the home. Their son Dave from Chicago is there to help, along with son John and his wife Patty. And from longtime member Fred Crane, we extend our sympathy on the loss of his son Larry, who died at the end of June. There are cards for Fred and the Lowers and the Hendersons, if you didn't get to sign theirs last week, available for all of you to sign at the pastoral care desk outside the auditorium doors. And I also have the home addresses there if you wish to send a card of your own. We also hold in our hearts the UU congregation of Plano, Texas, which was the victim of a firebomb attack on their building 1 week ago. I will share the message issued a few days ago by UUA President, the Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt. She says, "Beloveds, over the weekend, one of our member congregations experienced a targeted attack on their building. It happened late at night, and blessedly no one was injured. We hold the members, staff, and community of the Community Unitarian Universalist Church of Plano, Texas in our hearts and prayers today, as authorities investigate arson and a possible hate crime. Acts of terror like this are meant to make us fear for our safety and question the life-saving ministry and witness our faith inspires. I am proud of who we are and all that we do to promote love and justice in the world. In these days, when the most vulnerable among us are subject to everyday acts of physical and legislative violence, let us turn to one another when despair for humanity might otherwise silence us. To our beloveds in Texas and everywhere, where simply living as our full selves gets harder every day, we will not give up. We are with you. You always have a home among us." Let's share now the names of anyone else we know who could use some special care and attention. You may call the name out loud, or if you're joining us on Zoom, you may type it into the chat. As we share these names, may the love of this community hold them all. We light 3 candles this morning. One for the joys and sorrows shared aloud, one for those shared in writing, and one for those held silently among us.
Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul.
The mission of First Unitarian Church is to grow ethically and spiritually, serve justly, and love radically. Your gifts of time and presence and money will make all of this possible. The offering is a budget line item. It's also a symbol of gratitude for this community and a symbol of the generosity that defines it. Every week, half of the collection given in the service goes directly to the wider community to support Faith in Action partners. Let's Talk collaborates with the Des Moines Public Schools to help young people resolve conflict. Hawthorne Hill works with unhoused families toward permanent, affordable housing. You may give through the plate as it passes or give online. Thank you. Our offertory music is Au bord de l'eau by Gabrielle Fauré.
She's going to play a different instrument next time. Okay. Our reading this morning is an excerpt from the Anthropocene Reviewed, which is a book of essays by John Green. We are never far from wonders. I remember when my son was about 2 and we were walking in the woods one November morning, and we were along a ridge looking over at a forest in the valley below, where a cold haze seemed to hug the forest floor. And I kept trying to get my oblivious 2-year-old to appreciate this extraordinary landscape. At one point, I picked him up and I pointed out toward the horizon and said, "Look at that, Henry, just look at it." And he said, "Leaf." I said, "What?" And again he said, "Leaf." And then reached out and grabbed a single brown oak leaf from the little tree next to us. Well, I wanted to explain to him that you can see a brown oak leaf literally anywhere in the eastern United States in November. That noting in the forest was less interesting. Nothing was. But after watching him look at it, I began to look as well. And soon I realized it wasn't just a brown leaf. its veins spidered out, red and orange and yellow, in a pattern too complex for my brain to synthesize. And the more I looked at the leaf with Henry, the more I knew that I was face to face with something commensurate to my capacity for wonder. The magnificence of that leaf astonished me, and I was reminded that aesthetic beauty is as much about how and whether you look at what you see. From the quark to the supernova, the wonders do not cease. It is our attentiveness that is in short supply, our ability and willingness to do the work that awe requires. We'll welcome back the Brook Trio, Dan and Sue, who's now playing the English horn, and an arrangement from Bruce Martin.
Hi, good morning. Whenever I tell people about the religion of my childhood, I will typically say something like, well, I grew up in the buckle of the Bible Belt in Southwest Missouri, but we like to sleep in and watch cartoons on Sundays instead. Like all children, I was spiritual in my own way, church or no church. I had a vibrant imagination, appreciated art and music, and enjoyed simple childlike meditations like taking in the scenery during road trips. I came from a road tripping family, and when I was about 19 or so, we were traveling through Iowa. I remember that long drive taking in the landscape. I remember being transfixed by the impossibly large spinning wind turbines looming over the verdant crops. We don't have those in Missouri, or at least where I'm from. On that beautiful day, I was pondering my future, college, career, and adult life. The great, exciting unknown was laid out before me. Peering out into the distant rolling hills, I thought to myself, I could maybe live here one day. Something about this seems kind of nice. When I first heard of Unitarian Universalism, I was visiting Kansas City with friends from college. Driving past a little building with a rainbow flag on it, the sign said, All Souls Unitarian Universalist Church. I asked if anybody knew what that was. Someone said that it was some sort of religious place for anyone, where those around you may have different beliefs and spiritualities. A fair assessment, if you ask me. And hearing that, I instantly felt an attraction to that place. I wanted to walk up to it and meet the people inside. I wanted to know what they were believing, what they were doing. This spoke to the parts of me that longed for a spiritual community. And I thought to myself, maybe I could visit a place like that one day. In the summer of 2015, I graduated with a degree in design. Dad helped me haul all my modest belongings to my new apartment in Des Moines, 368 miles from where I was born. I was excited to explore the city and start my fancy new job. Years had passed since that road trip across Iowa, and now that once passing thought had become true. I was coming to Des Moines where I didn't know a single soul, and I was excited. After my arrival, I had an eventful summer. I explored the local bike trails and parks, the art center, the summer festivals, all by myself. I had a to-do list, including checking out the local Unitarian Universalist church at some point. I was remembering what my old friend mentioned to me all those days ago, a religious place for anyone. Fast forward to July 4th of that summer. By this time, I was becoming a little bit more agitated, a little bit more lonely. I was missing a summer holiday with no family or friends nearby to celebrate. Not really sure what to do with myself, I thought, well, maybe I should treat myself to some pancakes. True story, you can laugh. I'll feel a little better. So I went to IHOP all alone on Independence Day. I can't say it was an enjoyable experience, but I realized I really needed to make some new friends in town. So the next morning, I walked into First Unitarian. I was a bit nervous and excited. I had no clue what to expect. Would I be meeting a bunch of barefooted hippies, or woo-woo weirdos, or high-minded humanists, or religious zealots, or insufferable social justice warriors? The answer, of course, is yes to all of that. But more importantly, I found First Unitarian to be a community of ordinary people living life the best they can, sharing a beautiful vision of love, hope, humanity, and justice. Here we have a summer tradition where the pulpit is frequently in the hands of congregants. That's why you're seeing me today. And that's why 8 years ago, my first service was led by youth. Keegan Walpole and his mother Petra led a service about the spiritual teachings of Star Wars, of all things. It covered how the hero's journey helps frame the transitions we experience in life from the profound to the mundane. I was blown away that a place could exist that allowed young people to not just participate, but lead services and speak their own truth. And I was thinking, so this is what religion can be, and this is what can go on in a church, and they call it worship. And so at some point I realized, okay, this is kind of cool, this is neat. After the service, I braved my first coffee hour. At that time, friendly members carried a bright green coffee mug to signify that they're available to talk to newcomers. That first conversation with that green coffee mug between us led to another introduction, then another, and then another. Because I chose to put myself out there, and because there were those who could give me their attention, I immediately felt welcome, and I chose to come back. Over time, the connections became wider, deeper, longer, more true, and more loving. I joined a Soul Matters group the following fall. Soul Matters is our premier small group program that I encourage all of you to join. Each session, we listen deeply to one another and ourselves. It was here that I learned to generously share my inner life because trust and deep listening was highly valued. We agreed to avoid any fixing, advising, or setting one another straight. Every urge I had to make a suggestion to somebody else's problem was met with a gentle inner reminder, listen, just listen. Soul Matters wasn't ever about solving someone else's problems right there on the spot. It was all about paying deep, quiet attention to the people in the room, including yourself. Here it was easy to come by joyful smiles, insight, wisdom, tender memories, and restful contentment. And also, of course, tearful eyes, tense silence, grief, devastation, and disappointment. For me, the big lesson Soul Matters taught me is that everybody is worth understanding. Everybody is worthy of empathy, of dignity, of love. Everyone's lives are as complex and as storied as yours. The hope Soul Matters gave me is that quiet, deep attention has a great power over the listener. It can crack you open, fill you with the wonder and awe of another human life. Imagining the largeness, the multitudes within a person is a barrier to ignorance, dehumanization, or hate. My hope is that a little bit of curiosity and attention widens the door from compassion, kindness, and patience. Later on, I joined the Coming of Age facilitator team. Coming of Age is our religious education program for 8th grade youth. During their formative years, we ask students to turn within themselves and ask the big questions, capital B, capital Q. What values and beliefs do they hold, and what do they want to become? And I have news for you. Asking a bunch of teenagers things like, what do you think happens after you die? And do you believe in God? And if you bought a soccer ball for your sister to be nice to her just for once, but turns out it was made by an impoverished girl in a sweatshop, was buying the soccer ball an act of evil? So those questions are hard to think about sometimes, especially when you're really young. Sometimes the replies we got were only a few mumbled words or a joke or a snicker or worse. They just weren't paying attention. When the facilitators and I debriefed a session that was lackluster, we'd fret. At the end of the year, these youth had to speak to their beliefs at the Coming of Age service in the spring. These questions were meant to prepare them, and if they weren't listening, then they weren't answering, and if they weren't answering, they weren't forming their beliefs, and if they weren't forming their beliefs, then they will fall flat on their faces at this podium, and they would fail, and we would fail, so of course we had reason to worry. Well, that's only half true. We adults choose to be part of the Coming of Age program, not only because it's important for the life of our congregation, but we also want to listen, understand, care for, and love the youth of our church. Each week, for those who showed up and participated fully, for those who goofed off, for those who mumbled a few words, for those who dropped out midway through the program, for those who could no longer hold in the tears in their eyes after a bad day, we as adults strive to give each individual unconditional positive regard. To build trust, we had to invite their whole selves to love and affirm and honor who they are, and then invite them to glimpse into their potential as becoming beings. So sometimes coming of age isn't always about the questions. It's about the bonds that we build to show our youth that they belong in this religious community. The great miracle of coming of age takes place at the service in the spring. I call it a miracle because it is something that I actually witnessed before my eyes and ears, but I cannot fully explain it. To my sheer delight and surprise, most of the youth I've worried about all year end up showing that they can walk up to this very podium and speak to the congregation with such authenticity, thought, humor, wisdom, and wonder. If you've been in the thick of it with me, you realize that these youth were listening all along. They were listening all along, not only to the adults, but to themselves. All of those years in small groups, with coming of age, asking the deep questions, and providing sermons to this congregation a few times, has led me to articulate my beliefs and what I think it means to be a human being. My central belief is that we are all becoming, that change is constant, that we are never the same from one moment to another. And so the question is, how do we become the best versions of ourselves as we change, as we emerge? For me, it is what America's favorite daytime TV host, Oprah Winfrey, once said. She said, "I know for sure that what we dwell on is who we become." I know for sure that what we dwell on is who we become. Every day, we give our time and attention to things with great intention and intense focus. This is how we grow careers, loving relationships, build families, solve problems, confront injustice, experience wonder, mystery, and awe. And every day we are also surrounded by an abundance of wonder, mystery, and awe that can be found even in the most ordinary, mundane things, like an oak leaf. Often we miss it. And every day we're susceptible to thieving temptations and distractions that we know aren't worth as much of our time as we give them. So I believe that every choice that you make has a compounding impact on the person you are becoming. David Foster Wallace, in his graduation speech titled "This is Water," asserts that we have the freedom to worship whatever we'd like God or money or material goods or ourselves or one another. Any and all of that has a serious power and grip over you. He asks us to be consciously aware of what we are devoting our lives and values to, and to look at whether it is growing our potential or eating us alive. He says, "The really important kind of freedom involves attention and awareness and discipline and effort and being able to truly care about other people and to sacrifice for them over and over in myriad petty little unsexy ways every day. That is real freedom. The alternative is unconsciousness, the default setting, the rat race, the constant gnawing sense of having had and lost some infinite thing." As Unitarian Universalists, we practice our faith by facing the mystery of life head on. At worship, we open ourselves to be shaped by the wisdom and calling from the pulpit. In small groups, we listen deeply and openly to one another, our own lives, and our deepest selves. When we actively engage with the world to address the needs and injustices of our community. However you choose to be in relationship with your own Unitarian Universalist faith, I ask you to raise awareness within yourself of how that is impacting you and how you impact others. The late American author Amy Krauss Rosenthal once said, "For anyone trying to discern what to do with their life, pay attention to what you pay attention to." That's pretty much all the information you need. Pay attention to what you pay attention to. Let us go forth in a spirit of open to life and readiness to bless the world with our love and service. Amen. Our closing song is number 64, "Oh, Give Us the Pleasure in the Flowers Today."
Oh, give like nothing else by day, like ghosts by night, and make us happy in the happy bees, the swarm dilating from the perfect trees, and make us happy in the darting bird that suddenly above the bees is heard, the meteor that trusts in with needle bill, and off a blossom in midair stands still. For this is love, and nothing else is love, which it is reserved for God above to sanctify to what far ends He will, but which it only needs that we fulfill.
These are words, "We All Emerge" by Eric Williams. We all emerge from, dwell within, are transformed by, and called back to love. May your mind be humbled before this mystery. May your heart grow hopeful by it. May you be sustained by this love always.
Soul of truth, eternal goodness, sojourn with us as we part. Fill our minds with thy endeavor. Keep us just and pure in heart. Strengthen us for daily duty. Guide us by the inward light. Hallowed be each coming morning. Calm and peaceful be each night. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we will carry in our hearts until we are together again. Go in peace.